Donald Trump has finally admitted that he is going to mess with the midterm elections, whether he has the approval of Congress or not. Now, as you know, Donald Trump and Republicans have been pushing the SAVE Act, which essentially requires voter ID. And there are some questions whether it will get through the Senate, but Donald Trump is now saying that does not matter to him. As he has said, quote, "I have searched the depths of legal arguments not yet articulated or vetted on this subject, and I will be presenting an irrefutable one in the very near future. There will be voter ID for the midterm elections, whether approved by Congress or not." Yeah, Donald Trump is going all in on the midterms. The suspicions that many people had have apparently been accurate, because here he is unwittingly admitting it. Now, it is a safe assumption that Donald Trump has not actually searched any legal arguments. And anytime he says in the very near future, that never comes. That's as reliable as 2 weeks. But clearly he is sending a message that I am here and I'm going to have my hand in the midterms, whether I have anybody's approval or not.
The House passed a Trump-backed voting bill that would completely change how Americans register and vote. It's called the Save America Act. It requires proof of citizenship to register. It creates a nationwide photo ID requirement, and it restricts mail-in voting. The bill passed 218 to 213. An estimated 21 million Americans don't have a birth certificate or passport readily available, documents that could be required under the new rules. Student IDs would not count. The bill now heads to the Senate, where it definitely faces an uphill battle. But even if it stalls there, people are saying it could serve as a roadmap for states looking to tighten their voting laws. So this may not just be about Congress. It could be about what happens next across the country.
Donald Trump admitted today that he is going to mess with the midterms, whether or not Congress approves the SAVE Act. Now, we know the SAVE Act passed the House of Representatives. It would cause all sorts of havoc with the upcoming midterms. But it's essentially DOA in the Senate, and it's not going to go anywhere by all accounts. But Donald Trump, talking to the press today, admitted that he's going to mess with the midterm elections. He's going to require voter ID, according to Donald Trump, which is not legal. He's going to try to push voter ID rules at all election places, at all polling places going into the midterms. But that's just Donald Trump talking, because there's actually no way for him to enforce that. If he did, the states would immediately turn against him. His own party would turn against him. His own party has already begun turning against him when he's used this rhetoric, and people across the country would demand that he is removed. So Donald Trump admits he wants to meddle with the election, but there's really no viable path for him to do so. It's not going to be the National Guard. It's not going to be the military. It's not going to be ICE. None of that's going to happen. He's just spouting off, trying to make media waves once again.
We have some news right now. Donald Trump says that we're going to have voter ID in the midterms, whether Congress passes it or not, except that's not how the law works. He also said that he has perused all of the legal arguments that are out there, and he's coming up with his own to present. He's not a lawyer. But let's look at what he just posted on his Truth Social account. This is from the President of the United States. Democrats refuse to vote for voter ID or citizenship. The reason is very simple. They want to continue to cheat in elections. That is not what our founders desired. I have searched the depths of our legal arguments not yet articulated or vetted on this subject, and we'll be presenting an irrefutable one in the very near future. There will be voter ID for the midterm elections, whether approved by Congress or not. Folks, that's not how it works. You can't just have voter laws like this that impact all 50 states without congressional approval. He's not happy about it because his bill in the Republican House of Representatives, the SAVE Act, is not going to get through a Senate that they need 60 votes. They're not going to get it because most Democrats don't approve of it. That's what the president is saying now. Can't really do it legally. I'll have more updates for you soon. So spread the word and follow along for all the news you need to know about.
We got to win the midterms, because if we don't win the midterms, it's just going to be, they'll find a reason to impeach me. I'll get impeached.
Another free ad for the Democrats. This is only going to get people more motivated to go and vote the Republicans out of office during the midterms. Has Donald Trump not looked at those real approval numbers recently? Not the fabricated shit that Little Lip Levitt and J.D. Vance keep feeding him and Stephen Miller and all them keep feeding him. The real numbers. Because an overwhelming majority of the country doesn't even fuck with you right now. So if you think that getting up there on stage, you, Mike Johnson, Steve Bannon, J.D. Vance, if y'all think that you getting up there and begging not to lose, that you raiding election precincts, that makes you look like you're not afraid of the midterms, and that's gonna make people vote for you, it's fucking not. It isn't. And we've seen that with all of the elections and special elections that have happened over the course of the last couple of months. Only a handful, less fingers than I have on this hand, Republicans have won in any of those elections. So it's been a very small margin of Republicans that have been winning. So he knows, and that's why he's begging. This is all the motivation you need to go and vote.
It's not even the middle of the night, and Trump is on a complete Truth Social meltdown. This post about voter ID and having to prove citizenship, to this one essentially talking about the same thing, but in more detail. He must have gotten news of the chances of passing the Save America Act are pretty slim, because this entire meltdown is about the elections, of which Trump and the Republicans are going to get beaten on badly the way things are going right now. He definitely wants the SAVE Act passed because it'll do one thing that he's not talking about in this. It will eliminate, except for special limited circumstances, mail-in voting. That will be done if this passes. Now, he wants voter ID, which most people support, and he also wants proof of citizenship when you register to vote, which also has a lot of support. But there is no question the SAVE Act makes it harder for people to vote. He really goes off the rails here against Democrats, calling them cheaters, saying no voter ID is even crazier and more ridiculous than men playing in women's sports. I don't know about you, but I personally enjoy watching him panic post like this. He's so off the rails and unhinged, it's incredible to watch. He says he's going to issue an executive order soon to enforce voter ID in some way. I'm not sure exactly how that's going to work because he can't do that with an executive order. But it's not going to stop him from trying. Let me know what you guys think about all this in the comments. Like, share, spread the word, follow, subscribe, and I'll see you back here for the 411.
Why does he keep on saying this, knowing that we all fact-checked?
I know what they can live with. The Democrats have gone crazy. They're radical left lunatics. That's why their cities are so unsafe. The blue cities are the cities that are unsafe. So we have to protect our law enforcement.
He continues to regurgitate the most laziest political scare tactics in the book. The blue cities are the most unsafe, so hate them, hate their state, and hate their governors. Well, we know that he's hoping his base doesn't look it up. Well, they probably don't. Because when you look at actual data from the FBI, the highest crime rates in our country are in deep red states. Cities in states like Alabama, Louisiana, Mississippi, all Republican-led states, almost always rank the top per capita. Red state residents, don't come at me. It doesn't mean your state is dangerous. It just means that crime is super, super complex. We already know that it's all theatrics with them. Blue equals dangerous. To them, if they can convince you guys that Democratic cities are collapsing, this justifies more federal crackdowns, more military in our streets, and more fear. Crime isn't partisan, but fear is. And keep that word in mind for the next video right after this.
All right, folks. Donald Trump just wrapped up a disastrous press conference following Pam Bondi's horrific performance testifying before the House Judiciary Committee yesterday. Donald Trump was asked about whether he has spoken with Howard Lutnick. Now that it's been uncovered that Lutnick was on Epstein's island and had all of these connections and business relationships with Epstein after claiming he hadn't spoken with Epstein since 2005. Donald Trump did not handle this question well at all. Well, Donald, you appear on the redacted files 38,000 times, potentially in the unredacted files over 1 million times, according to Jamie Raskin. And now you're out there spying on members of Congress in their searches that they're making when they were given access finally by the DOJ to the unredacted files. That's absolutely despicable. Next, Donald Trump has asked, okay, so you're not going to fire Lutnick. You support him going to the island, okay? Seems like that makes sense. Par for the course. You're all part of the Epstein class. So now a reporter says, have you fired or disciplined the person because you claimed it wasn't you who posted the photos and videos of apes with former President Obama and former First Lady Michelle Obama's face on the apes? You gonna fire the person who did that? Donald, here He said no because the video was about voter fraud. Dude, what the heck are you talking about? Oh, and then he uses the line he gave Pam Bondi by saying, it's okay, everybody. He can be racist. It's okay if you got all these connections with Epstein because the Dow is over 50,000. Remember when Pam Bondi said the Dow is over 50,000, everybody? The S&P is over 7,000. First off, neither of that's true. It was a horrible day on the stock market today. Second, foreign stock markets are doing much better than the United States market. In any event, even if the market was doing well, okay, great. Rich people are making more money while other people are getting screwed. But here's what Trump says. Play this clip. The Dow hit 50,000. Now it's over 50,003. And then as Donald Trump is getting buried in the Epstein cover-up and the American people are clearly understanding what the hell is happening right now with the Trump regime Epstein class cover-up, Donald Trump's like, we may be going to war with Iran soon, and we're going to make it traumatic. It's going to be traumatic for everybody. Well, it's already traumatic for people here, Donald. People are traumatized right now living paycheck to paycheck in the United States. They're traumatized by masked ICE agents and Border Patrol Gestapo killing people in the streets and kidnapping them in their masks. So people are psychologically tortured. So, your plan to cover up the Epstein files, torture people more. Play this clip.
I just looked up how the United States acquired Hawaii. I'm gonna get the blackboard. You might need a tea before this lesson. Stand by. Of course the CIA was involved. Get your own pen. Here we go. Hawaii. Sometimes my writing is especially horrific. We're gonna start in 1893 at the overthrowing of the monarchy. First and foremost, we are going to talk about the economic motives. Of course it's about money. It's always about money. Here we go. At the end of the 19th century, American business owners owned all of the sugar plantations in Hawaii, and they were making tons of money. And then McKinley, President of the United States, started putting huge tariffs on all things coming into the United States. And these business owners started worrying that nobody was going to buy their sugar because it was going to be at such a high tariff. So they decided, I wonder if annexation is a good idea. So the goal becomes annex Hawaii in order to circumvent the trade barrier. Number 2, the coup. So in 1893, the Queen of Hawaii knew that this kind of shift of power was trying to happen. So what did she do? She tried to create a new constitution to solidify power for her country and to the people of that country. In response to that, a group of white business owners created something called the Committee for Safety. Now, just for the record, the Committee of Safety was all about the safety of their money and their investment. It had nothing to do with the people of Hawaii or democracy. I just want you to know. This led to number 3, a U.S. military-backed coup. And this coup had U.S. Marines land in Hawaii under the pretense of protecting American citizens. Isn't that always the way? Do you think the Marines ever get tired of protecting American monetary interests around the world under the guise of protecting the Constitution? Because isn't our job of the military to protect the Constitution and freedom of the citizens of the United States, not use it to weaponize to take over every other country? Just a thought. Protecting democracy does not extend past the borders of the United States, apparently. Don't say I never did anything for you. Now I have to wait for it to dry. Hate to be the bearer of bad news, but annexation. Number 1, the Queen conditionally, that's important, surrenders. Why? She wants to avoid her people having insurmountable bloodshed. Now here's where it gets interesting. Number 2, Grover Cleveland, who is president at this time, initially looks at the situation, the annexation of Hawaii, and declares it illegal. Grovers are always such good guys. Super Grover, Grover Cleveland. I'm sure I'll think of another one. I hate to say this. However, Stanford Dole was the provisional governor of Hawaii, and he refused to step down and declared it annexed, declared it a part of the United States. Hawaii is now a republic. That was my best emperor. Did you like it? Another however. Number 3, what else happened in 1898? The Spanish-American War. Now there's a perceived strategic need for acquiring Hawaii. Why? They needed a naval base there to get to the other country that they annexed, which was the Philippines during the Spanish-American War. So now the military's involved, creating this dialogue about making sure people know this is essential for U.S. defense. Wonder if they were thinking about Greenland at the same time. Just wait till you hear how McKinley bypasses the Constitution, guys. You guys are really not going to like this one. The New Lands Resolution. So in order to acquire or to annex a new territory, the Senate needs to approve it with a 2/3 majority. Why is that? It's very, very simple and actually should be very strongly embedded in the Constitution. The more land you acquire, the more input you have in your political system. So it makes perfect sense that we want to go slowly to acquire land. Also, everything's going to cost more money. So as new land costs more money, it makes sense that the elected democratic body gets to make a decision on that result. But since McKinley still wanted Hawaii, what he does instead is passes something called a joint resolution. That just requires a simple majority of the Senate, and what ends up happening, they annex it in 1898. Just a side backstory, McKinley was heavily influenced by something called social Darwinism, and social Darwinism meant that as societies progressed, the countries that were lifted into the top economic stratospheres, by some were considered to be superior. And it took it as their job, as their mission, and I use the word mission purposefully, to go and civilize other nations that have yet to achieve that status. Money buys morality in this very broken ideology. You guys exhausted yet? I'm exhausted. My head hurts a little bit. We're in the home stretch. All right, here we go. Hawaii becomes an actual territory as of 1900. And it's not until 1959 that they actually acquire state status after having a referendum in Hawaii in which 93% of the population voted to join the United States as a state. 60 years of abuse as a territory will make you want to join the country in order to actually get the benefits of being a U.S. citizen and constitutional protections, rather than it being used against you in a consistent manner. You guys are going to love this. And in 1993, the U.S. officially apologized for the annexation of Hawaii. Here's my issue. If they knew it was wrong, if they knew it was illegal, my issue isn't going back in time. We don't have a DeLorean or Michael J. Fox. My issue is this. Why does the United States government consistently replicate this particular strategy when dealing with the rest of the world? My issue is the apology doesn't mean anything if you keep employing the same tactics. But I'm telling you right now, your chickens are coming home to roost.
So what else could possibly be in the unreleased Epstein files? What fresh hell awaits us in those millions of documents? If this is what they allowed into the public, what else is there? These are the questions on everyone's mind, right? As everyone is reeling from what is in them and bracing themselves for what could possibly be coming next. Well, I'm a professional psychic, and I'm going to tell you what's coming next. I'm going to tell you something else. It's not going to horrify you. Dare I say, it's actually going to get you excited for what is to come. What's to come? Yes, it is going to be chaotic. Yes, it is going to shock everyone, and their minds are going to be reeling, but not in the way you think. not in the horrifying way that we have all been destabilized by the depravity that has just been revealed. What's coming next is a revelation of how the system actually works. And what I mean by that is a deeper look into the corruption. Now, this isn't just about bad deals, selfishness, dishonor, dishonesty. It's not just about that. It's about how things have run that have intentionally harmed humans and the planet. We are about to find out the extent to which capitalism has not only run amok, but to the extent to which it has intentionally damaged us, intentionally kept us enslaved. Not only this, but we are about to find out what has been kept from humanity. Hidden truths, secret origins, abilities, ways that we can behave as humans, as souls embodied, that can change everything about how we exist here on this planet. Yes, all of this leading to disclosure, meaning the truths about our extraterrestrial connections, about other species, other life forms that exist on this very planet, that coexist with us. What will be revealed is that the life you thought you knew is not all there is. There is so much more. And it has been intentionally kept out of reach. And of course, this information will shock and infuriate and destabilize, yes, but the fact that it's going to come out means that when it is revealed, it can no longer be kept a secret, and thus it will no longer be allowed to function as it has been. So with this revelation comes its collapse. And with the collapse, finally comes the time where we can be in our fullness. You see, for years, decades, generations, spiritual folk have been talking about ascension, about ascending into the fifth dimensional new earth. What would this new earth be like? How are we going to get there? How could we truly heal the planet and live in freedom and be in health and be in financial stability? How is any of this possible? Well, we've been led to believe that the conditions of the world are just hard. There isn't enough to go around, especially here in America. And so as these revelations continue to spill out, that we find how the system in every way, every system here in this country and around the world has been rigged against us for the selfish gain of the few. This is what destabilizes people. This is what will unleash the fury. But, the most important but of your life, but this becomes the pathway to our liberation and to opening the door for us to be able to finally live as we were intended, as divine co-creators of this planet, of this realm. Yes, with health and financial freedom and safety and stability. It is because of what will be revealed that we will finally have the doors opened to the new earth. Now, in case this destabilizes you a little bit, let's back it up. All of what is going to be revealed will be hard to wrap your head around at first, but we will adjust. We will settle into these new truths. We will not be destabilized forever. In fact, we will swiftly find our footing, and we will come into a confidence and into a forward momentum like we've never known before, united by the truth. And in case this seems a little far-fetched, something that I've been shown, that Spirit has shown me repeatedly, is that all the darkness and depravity that exists in this world is perpetuated by one web, one group of people, one interconnected group of people that is perpetuating all this darkness against humanity. And as the Epstein files revelations have been coming forward, that has been verified. And what we're just beginning to see are the little hints of truth into these other things that I've talked about in this video, just barely scratching the surface of, you're telling me they did what? This is the revelation. This is the shock. It's not more horror and depravity. It is truth. Truth of things that we were told were impossible. But they're not only possible, they've been controlled and kept from us. And that is why I say these truths coming out is the most incredible, exciting thing that could ever happen to humanity, because it means we are finally opening the door. We are finally unlocking our true potential. So know that as we go ahead in the weeks and months to come, that we will be shocked, we will be destabilized, we will be angry, but this opens the door to pure potential and true freedom at last.